Hey guys, what's up? It's me, PigBar25 here, and today I am bringing you part 6 of my top 100 coaster countdown Bonanza. And today we are officially going to reach the halfway mark of the list. We're only going to have 5 more parts after this, and as always we should begin. Now, I don't have a note slide written, but I want to tell you that some of my opinions here at the note slide are going to be my opinions here. Starting from this point on, this is where we start to get some good coasters, some coasters where people will consider really good or low, or some really questionable coasters or high. You're going to start seeing some really questionable opinions. If they weren't already prevalent enough last part, this one we're going to have quite a bit of controversy. And just guys, this is my opinion. I mean, I'm going off of what I know, and I'm going to present some evidences of why, and maybe a little bit of counter evidence to my own claims as well. Well, we'll see how that actually works out, breaking the fourth wall again. Number 60 is Carowinds, or Carowinds Vortex, more should I say. It's an older, very old B&M stand-up coaster at Carowinds. It was the opening to my day at Carowinds, and wasn't anything impressive, but it was enjoyable. It was fairly smooth, only had a few moments of headbanging. It was kind of smooth along the track. I mean, didn't really vibrate too much, but because it wasn't going that fast. It was only like 50 mile per hour top speed, and it was kind of intense. It did have some forces to it. However, it's a stand-up coaster. How good it is really capped based off its model alone. I mean, I would see this thing possibly in the next 5 years become the same thing California's Great America did, thus having no stand-up coasters left at any Cedar Fair park. So, yeah. That's kind of it there. Carowinds, Vortex, opener of my day. Number 60. Numbers 59 could have been a duplicate slide entry, but I decided to make it a little bit different, being Georgia Scorcher. The last stand-up coaster that B&M has ever created, and we think that is going to be the last stand-up coaster they will ever create, since this was created in 1999, the same year as Raging Bull. They were moving on to the hypercoaster age when they're ending the stand-up coaster age, and they haven't made a stand-up since. I mean, sure, they've been supplying parts to it, of course, but they haven't been doing stand-ups at all since then. So, yeah, it's smooth. I feel like it's a bit smoother and a bit more enjoyable than Vortex. It has a bit more to the layout. A bit different layout, definitely a bit more to the layout, I think, like I said already. And once again, it was the opening to my Six Flags Over Georgia day. And what is it with me always starting with the day with a stand-up coaster in the South? I mean, granted, sure, they are in the best location of the park. They are right at the front, and they are kind of in line for what I want to get out of the way. But it seems coincidental that both of my southeastern parks have just started the day with a stand-up coaster. They were pretty good compared to, like, Mantis and Iron Wolf. But, these are the good two inversion models. And, it was the nearest coaster on my route. This thing, the one thing I'll complain about here, one, it's a stand-up coaster. I already mentioned that. Two, it needs a paint job bad. The track is not looking good. That thing should have been repainted like 5 years ago or something. It needs a repaint. If it hasn't gotten it already, it needs one. So, I mean, some of the photos here, these photos are kind of old down here, but it kind of looks like crap from more recent photos. Just give it back that yellow and purple vibrant color scheme again. Like, it needs it. It really does. Number 58 is Magnum XL200. Now, this is where the controversy comes in. As you can see, I had to make the text a bit smaller in order to fit all this message in. This is arguably a juggernaut of Cedar Point, and some CP radicals say that this is the third best coaster or fourth best coaster at the park. It is my 9th favorite coaster at the park. Maybe my 8th. I forget which one. You gotta see my countdown video for that. This is arguably a juggernaut at Cedar Point. It doesn't even crack the top half of my list, however. It's a mixed message. It's tall, fast, has good airtime, really good airtime. The problem is that, just to put it bluntly, it hurts. And every single one of those aspects is low quality. Cheesy, almost. To make a comparison to cinema. The restraints are not on par with what the hypercoaster genre demands. They had the exact same restraints as Gemini Gemini, the restraints work for that coaster. Magnum, they don't. It's too intense for that type of restraint. Just you're gonna and the airtime hills are oddly triangular in shape, and the aeroness of the ride really shows with clunky transitions and some definitely some roughness issues. I mean, I understand the limited technology back in like 1988, 1989 when this thing was first unberthed, or well, okay. But now standards are higher today. And also, this hyper is far in the dust when it compared to other hypers. I think every other hypercoaster I've ridden, by definition a full circuit hyper, like Magnum, B&M hypers, Intamin hypers, stuff like that, they all crack top 20. So, yeah. That says something when we have 58 and then the next best hyper is in top 20. Also, just for your information, I have not ridden in what people call the magic seat. And even in June of 2016, I did not know the magic seat was a thing. I heard it's a seat where almost all pain is alleviated, because apparently the physics work out somehow. I don't know where it is, but if another date comes closer to a revisit, like if Mean Streak ends up becoming a 2017 RMC project, I might be going back just to ride it, because it'll probably be sick. I'd like to be told the location where the magic happens. Maybe it can bring the ride back up the top half. Maybe. I mean, honestly, this thing would have been a lot lower if I had not given it pity points for historical achievement and stats. Because, to put it bluntly, it's gotten really bad over the past 5 years. 2010, it was great. 2016, ow. And then, more controversy that I'm putting Sooperoper Looper over Magnum. Yes, all the hate is being fired at me like a bunch of firing squad gun points at this point. That might have been a bit inappropriate. I know, Magnum is painful and not a pleasant ride experience for me. It would have been even lower, like I said, if I had not taken pity points in account for stats and history. Sooperoper Looper is fun, yet tame, and it's a good family attraction where I might experience my first completely circular Schwarzkopf loop. It was the first Schwarzkopf circular loop I've ever went through. It was fun, and I really like this coaster. It's fun, and I even think it's underrated for family coasters. Especially for Schwarzkopf, it's pretty underrated. It works really well with the terrain, has tunnels, loops, interaction with Great Bear, a lot of it. I mean, you can see how close the lift hill and the loop gets to the supports. It's pretty interesting. They have a tunnel, if I had said it already. It's just a very interesting ride. I really do like it. And also, it's just like Whizzer for me. Why Whizzer was in the top of Part 5, it's just a guilty ride. It's a guilty ride. It's just for some reason I could not go a day without riding it upon visiting, unless I'm really in a rush. It's almost like a guilty pleasure, but in a tame manner. It's like you're a diehard coaster enthusiast, but you like the little mild family rides deep inside, even though you're kind of ashamed to tell people. I'm not ashamed to tell people I like Sooperoper Looper. I like it. It's not a bad coaster. Personally, it could have actually moved up a few spots on my original top 13 coaster Hershey Park countdown. Enough of Sooperoper Looper. We're going to move on to a Sooperoper Looper 2.0, also known as Scorpion at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Well, that comparison is actually invalid. Look, this thing I like more because of intensity. This is compact, lots of tight turns, lots of tight helixes. The transitions are a bit worse, I will admit, because you're moving at a higher speed. And honestly, you would not expect to gray out in this thing. I was coming into the ride expecting, okay, this should be another fun Schwarzkopf. I think it should be like Whizzer, Sooperoper Looper mixed together. No, I grayed out here. I was graying out most of the ride. It was pleasantly intense. Granted, the transition issues, like I said, were a bit iffy. Granted, I did ride in the back row. I was assigned back row because I didn't feel like waiting an extra train because I had to get to Clearwater for vacation. And I wanted to get there before like 8 p.m. before it started raining because there were some clouds in the area. So I just took back row and I really liked it. I didn't expect it. And another thing here, I had low expectations for the ride and it delivered. It didn't blow me away, but it delivered. The only thing that I don't like about it is sometimes the transitions, which I attribute more to the back row experience than the ride itself. Granted, I know Schwarzkopf isn't exactly the best transitions. They're good, but not the best. And this ride isn't exactly well marked. I think I was from the angle I was looking at when I was looking from the entrance of Falcon's Fury. There was no sign. All I just knew it was there because you can see the ride and you can see some lockers and the beginning of the queue. I think the sign might be at a different angle, but it doesn't really work for those people coming from Falcon's Fury, which was me. I came from Falcon Fury. So, yeah. Number 55 is Mindbender at Six Flags Over Georgia. Now, this one, I want to go back and ride it again. Because I feel like if I rode this, I would like it just a bit more. Because it's arguably the best Schwarzkopf coaster ever. Or not ever, but arguably the best Schwarzkopf looping coaster in the United States. Or even in the world. I don't know, I don't study Schwarzkopf that much. I mean, in 2015, when I went in August of that year, I rode it, didn't really find it much special. But now, I am fully aware of the magic of Schwarzkopf after riding Sooperoper Looper, which actually I think was before it. Oh, never mind. After riding Whizzer again, discovering it, and I really liking it, instead of it being from bottom 15, it's now all the way up in top 65. And I did ride Scorpion, which was really fun. Granted, I do have family back here in Georgia, or near Atlanta. So, if I ever go see them again, a day at Six Flags Over Georgia is entirely possible. Might be a bit of a lengthy commute since they're on two opposite ends of the suburbs. I think my family there lives in the northern suburbs, and Mindbender's in the western suburbs, or Over Georgia's in the western suburbs. But yeah, this one, I really like the terrain interaction. It was kind of jerky. I think the track layout seemed a bit more of a carnival-style ride rather than what Schwarzkopf is used to, because the track on these two rides are completely different. And I just love the terrain, and I love the loops. The loops are great. The terrain interaction is fantastic. You're in the forest. You can barely see anything out of the midway unless you're on the brake run. You can see the parking lot from a certain part. It's just a fun ride. It's just a fun ride. I want to go back and ride this again. Hopefully, if I go back, it could possibly crack top 50 because I know the magic of Schwarzkopf. But I put it here for the meantime, which is still a respectable score. I mean, it just missed top half by a few entries. But, yeah, it's right here. Number 54 is Racer. Classic, PTC, Ace Coaster Landmark recipient racing coaster. Good airtime, fairly smooth, competitive environment, and it was the second to last coaster of the day at Kings Island. So, the memory on this one's a bit hazy because I was still raving about some of the good coasters, like I just came off of Flight of Fear, or I was remembering Diamondback, and I wanted to go on Banshee again after riding Adventure Express. I mean, memory's a tad hazy, but I do remember this was fairly smooth, it had some decent airtime, but, I mean, it wasn't the smoothest, and the operations weren't exactly the best. I do love the linearity of the coaster, if that's even a word. The coaster's quite linear. I love how it's just a strip of land. It almost kind of looks like, I'm not going to say it. I think, moving on. Forget I ever said that. I'm just going to move on to number 53, which will upset some people, because I'm putting in generally inferior wooden coaster over this classic, which is Hurler at Carowinds. Now this one's a bashed ride. The sister one at King's Dominion is already closed. It closed unexpectedly, didn't open the entirety of 2016, and a gravestone appeared. I mean, I'm not going to make a video of that myself because it's already old news, but memory is definitely clear with this one. And it's another case of Sooperoper Looper and Scorpion Syndrome. I had low expectations coming on, really low expectations. I was expecting this to be an awful, rough wooden coaster. No, I was really surprised. This was actually a fun coaster. I mean, pros. The lift hill went by quick. The first bank turn after dropping is fast and sweet. It's great. The trains are heavily padded. I mean, there's pads. The whole train is like on par with a Millennium Flyer, just with an L-bar with a PTC train instead of a T-bar from a Millennium Flyer. And it's quite comfortable. There's not really that many moments of roughness. And mostly, it's smooth. It's actually smooth. Can you believe it? Hurler is smooth, at least from my experience. Now the cons. This layout is kind of uninspired and dull. The airtime hills are pretty much airtimeless. That's my biggest problem. I've heard it has a tendency to be a bit bipolar with experience. It can be really good, like maybe my ride, and it can be really bad, on par with King's Dominion's Hurler, which rest in peace that. Extensive maintenance. It was closed when I tried to first ride it. I ended up riding it later in the same evening and riding it again the next evening. So this thing does have to be down quite a bit. And also, one of the I don't know if this is really a con, but it has an inferiority complex due to the Fury 325 just across the midway, or just a bit further down the midway. I mean, you could see Fury loud and clear from the midway. I mean, honestly, this ride is a mixed bag, but I came off with a smile, no pain, exceeding expectations, and the win over Racer. However, it does not beat the Comet Hershey Park. You can't beat the Classic. You can't beat a far more classic coaster than Racer and Hurler ever wish they can be. This thing's been operating since probably like the 20s or something. I forget. 20s, 30s, 40s. Really old. It was made before the second golden age of theme parks. I mean, honestly. And it's right at the front of the park. It's a great opener for the day. It's a great opener. It's very smooth. I do remember being quite smooth. Really enjoyable. Has some good airtime. And it's a classic. It is by far the oldest operating coaster at Hershey Park. And it rounds out the middle of the pack for Woodies. It doesn't suck like Wildcat, which needs to die. But it's a more gentle thrill than Lightning Racer. And it's just like Wizard and Sooperoper Looper. It's a fun, guilty ride. And a great tame way to start the day, or end the day, depending on what I want to do first. Like, if you start the day with a Comet, your odds are you're going to go like the Sky Rush, then Sooperoper Looper, Great Bear, Storm Runner, Fahrenheit, and I forget the layout entirely of the park, but it was still fun regardless. And our last entry is the third coaster from Hershey Park on this list, if I remember correctly, Laugh Track. The only Mauer-Zona spinning coaster I have ever ridden. And it was a blast. I'd come into this ride not knowing what to expect. I did not know what to expect in this one. And almost everything in this model is great. I love the theming. I love the elements of the spinning coaster, because I'd never ridden a spinning coaster like this before. My only spinning coasters were spinning wild mice, and they sucked. Granted, I did ride this one before Cobra's Curse, so I didn't have Cobra's Curse under my belt. You'll see that one later. And I love the tight layout, I love the spinning, I love the theming. Granted, it can be a bit disturbing for some, because it is cartoon clowns and extra clown art. And also, the queue line is even fun for this. It has clowny warped mirrors, art, and air conditioning. Mankind's greatest invention, air conditioning. I mean, granted, another con is that the cars are somewhat cramped as well. I mean, if you see the picture on the right, you can really tell that it's not exactly the most roomy cars, but it's compact and you spin like a pinball. So, yeah. I'm sorry for not uploading. Oh, maybe. I forgot there's a concluding note. If you made it to this video without quitting to my bizarre opinions, thank you. If you agree for some reason, wow. I don't know how. And if you're shaking your head at this but you made it through, thank you. Just, like I said before, be respectful of my own opinion. Everyone has a different experience on the spectrum of the rides, whether it be a good ride, bad ride, or average ride. Some may love Magnum, some may hate the Hurler. Many of you have probably never ridden any of these, or some of these. I'll just warn you here, starting now and through the rest of the whole series, the true wonkiness, in my opinion, will really shine here. I've got some really questionable picks. And Part 7 is going to have an all-star coaster see its demise on my countdown. So, like I said, the rest of the series will contain a high dose of opinions. Some really, really questionable ones as well. I hope you continue watching the series, enjoy watching the video, feel free to be active on my comments, Have a great day, or year, or month, or week, or whatever unit of time you want to use. Just make it great. And as always, guys, peace.